The unassuming threat. Maya Chen stood at the entrance to the Grand Hall of the Galactic Military Academy, observing the cacophony of species that milled about in their pristine uniforms. At 172 centimeters and 65 kilograms, she was unremarkable by human standards. But here, among the representatives of the Galactic Confederation's 3,000-member species, she was practically invisible. To her left, a group of Krelthian cadets flexed their secondary limbs, the morning light glinting off their chitinous exoskeletons. They communicated through a series of clicks and hisses, occasionally flashing their threat displays, arrays of bioluminescent patches that could stun smaller prey into paralysis. To her right, a lone Thraxian cadet towered at nearly 3 meters, its leathery skin covered in natural armor plates that could withstand small arms fire. The creature's massive jaw could exert enough pressure to crush titanium alloy. Maya adjusted her standard-issue uniform and straightened her back. Her entrance exams had placed her in the 99th percentile among applicants, yet she couldn't help feeling like she didn't belong. Not because she wasn't qualified, but because she was, well, just human. Cadet Chen, came a gravelly voice from behind her. Maya turned to face Academy instructor Vexloren, a Zenturi whose species had evolved in the methane lakes of a high-gravity world. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he handed her a data tablet. Your schedule. First class begins in 20 minutes. Do not be late. Yes, instructor, Maya replied, accepting the tablet with a crisp salute. Vexloren studied her for a moment too long before turning away. It was a look Maya had grown accustomed to, a mixture of curiosity, skepticism, and something else she couldn't quite identify. The Academy's administrative AI had assigned her to Barracks 17, which housed a diverse mixture of species from across the Confederation. As Maya made her way across the campus grounds, she passed groups of cadets from worlds she had only read about in briefing materials. Some were clearly social apex predators, moving in coordinated packs. Others were solitary hunters, maintaining precise distances from their peers. Maya approached the entrance to Barracks 17, where a holographic directory displayed the room assignments. Room 42. Cadet Maya Chen, human. Cadet Zikvex, Cerulean. Cadet Thrax Dvorks, Mygalian. Great. She would be rooming with a venomous reptilian and a member of the Confederation's most notorious hunter species. The Mygalians were known for their ability to sense fear pheromones across vast distances. Maya took a deep breath and opened the door. Inside, the room had been modified to accommodate the diverse biological needs of its occupants. One corner featured a heated rock platform, presumably for the cold-blooded Cerulean. Another corner contained what appeared to be a nest made of synthetic fibers, likely for the Mygalian. The remaining space held a standard sleep platform for Maya. The room was empty. Her roommates had yet to arrive. Maya placed her regulation duffel on the sleep platform and began unpacking her few personal items: a small plant from Earth, a family photo, and a worn paper book, an antiquated format that had earned her curious glances from the customs officers upon her arrival. She had just finished setting up her personal space when the door slid open. The Cerulean entered first, its scales shifting from emerald to amber as it registered Maya's presence. At roughly Maya's height, but twice as broad, Zikvex moved with liquid grace, 6-fingered hands flexing to reveal retractable claws that could slice through metal. You must be Cadet Chen, the Cerulean said, its voice containing an artificial harmonic that indicated it was using a translation module. I am Zikvex of the Crimson Clutch. Before Maya could respond, another figure filled the doorway. The Mygalian, Thrax Dvorks, stood nearly 2.5 meters tall. Its exoskeleton was midnight black with iridescent patterns that shifted in the light. 4 primary arms ended in precision manipulators, while 2 smaller limbs near its thorax appeared specialized for fine work. The species was renowned across 17 star systems for their unparalleled hunting abilities and combat prowess. Human, the Mygalian stated flatly, mandibles clicking. I did not expect to be assigned with your kind. Maya straightened her posture, meeting the Mygalian's compound eyes. Cadet Maya Chen, Earth. Looking forward to working with you both. Something strange happened then. Both aliens took an instinctive step backward. The Cerulean scales rippled, flashing a deep blue pattern that Maya's briefing materials hadn't covered. The Mygalian's posture shifted subtly, secondary limbs tucking closer to its body. A defensive position. Is everything okay? Maya asked, genuinely confused. The two aliens exchanged glances, communicating in some unspoken way that transcended species barriers. Fine. Zikvex finally said. Everything is fine. The awkward moment passed, and they all proceeded to settle into their spaces. Yet Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had occurred, something she didn't understand. The Academy's first-year curriculum was designed to identify strengths and weaknesses across species while building a foundation of common military knowledge. Combat theory, cynobiology, strategic operations, and weapons training formed the core subjects. Maya's first class was Combat Forms with instructor Cathal, a member of the Dracari species whose evolutionary line had diverged from apex predators into specialized combat organisms. The instructor's leathery wings were folded tightly against her back as she prowled before the assembled cadets in the circular training arena. Combat is not merely about strength, Cathal announced, her voice resonating through the chamber. It is about understanding. Understanding yourself, understanding your enemy, and understanding the environment. She paused, scanning the room. Today, we will begin by demonstrating natural combat abilities. Who wishes to volunteer first? A massive Thraxian cadet stepped forward, flexing limbs that ended in natural bone spurs. I will demonstrate. What followed was an impressive display of raw power as the Thraxian smashed through a series of increasingly difficult targets, finishing by pulverizing a block of synthetic material with the density of spacecraft hull metal. Next came a Phaedon cadet whose segmented body allowed it to move with terrifying speed, striking 16 targets in under 3 seconds. One by one, cadets from different species showed their natural combat abilities: acid sprays, sonic attacks, bioelectric stuns, prehensile appendages capable of crushing or constricting. Maya watched carefully, taking mental notes on each species' capabilities and limitations. Her tactical mind was already calculating counters and strategies. Cadet Chen, Instructor Cathal finally said, would you care to demonstrate human combat capabilities? All eyes turned to Maya. She could sense the mixture of curiosity and dismissal. Humans had no claws, no venom, no natural armor, no extra limbs, nothing that would impress in this gathering of evolutionary combat specialists. Yes, instructor, Maya said, stepping into the center of the arena. She stood there for a moment, feeling oddly exposed. Then she turned to Cathal. I'll need a volunteer. The instructor's head tilted in curiosity. For what purpose? To demonstrate, Maya explained. Humans are generalists. Our combat styles are adapted to work against various opponents. After a moment's consideration, Cathal nodded. Cadet Frax, assist. A Zentari cadet stepped forward, standing nearly a head taller than Maya with twice her muscle mass. The species was known for its incredible strength and durability. I will try not to damage the human, Vrax said, mandibles twitching in what might have been amusement. Attack when ready, Maya said, settling into a relaxed stance. The Zentari lunged with surprising speed for its size. But Maya was ready. She sidestepped, using the alien's momentum against it, a simple redirection that sent Vrax stumbling past her. Before the Zentari could recover, Maya had circled behind it, applying precise pressure to nerve clusters that her academy briefings had identified as universal pain centers in most bilateral species. Vrax let out a startled hiss and attempted to grab Maya with its secondary limbs. Maya ducked under the grasping appendages and executed a sweep that somehow, despite the significant weight difference, sent the Zentari crashing to the training mat. The entire exchange had taken less than 6 seconds. A heavy silence fell over the training arena. Maya had extended a hand to help Frax up, a human gesture of sportsmanship that the Zentari stared at in momentary confusion before accepting. "Interesting," Cathal said, pupils dilating. "What combat form was that?" "A mixture," Maya explained. "Humans have developed thousands of combat styles over our history, each adapted to different situations and opponents. We call this particular approach practical combat application, using an opponent's expectations, balance, and physiology against them." The instructor studied Maya with new interest. "And all humans can fight this way?" "No," Maya admitted. "It requires training. But all humans have the potential to learn multiple combat forms. We're adaptable." Something in the way she said that last word caused a ripple of unease through the assembled cadets. Maya noticed several of the apex predator species shift their postures subtly, not quite backing away, but creating just a little more space between themselves and her. Thal seemed to notice this too, her head tilting as she observed the room's dynamics. "Interesting indeed. Continue with the next demonstration." 3 weeks into the academic cycle, Maya had settled into a routine. Her classes were challenging but manageable, her performance consistently in the upper percentiles. Yet social integration remained elusive. Other cadets, particularly those from apex predator species, maintained a strange distance. It wasn't hostility exactly, more like caution. The behavior extended to her roommates. Zik, Vex, and Thrax were unfailingly polite but never relaxed in her presence. They coordinated their schedules to minimize time spent alone with her in their shared quarters. Maya had reviewed her cultural sensitivity briefings repeatedly, trying to identify if she was committing some cross-species faux pas, but found nothing. The mystery deepened during advanced survival training. The class had been transported to Training World Epsilon, a controlled environment featuring multiple biomes designed to test adaptability. Today's exercise took place in the mountain region, where temperatures dropped well below freezing at night. The goal was simple: navigate to the extraction point 30 kilometers away within 48 hours, using only the equipment they could carry. Cadets had been organized into cross-species teams of 3, ostensibly to promote cooperation and understanding. Maya found herself teamed with Karks, a Vidari whose homeworld was a scorching desert planet, and Lisseth, a Neirdal whose aquatic species was known for sophisticated biotech implants. Neither seemed thrilled with the arrangement. "We should establish our strengths and limitations," Maya suggested as they surveyed the rocky terrain before them. "I have cold weather experience and good stamina." "Vidari generate internal heat," Karks stated flatly. "Cold is not an issue. However, this terrain will slow me. Our feet are adapted for sand, not rock." Lisseth's gill slits fluttered anxiously. "Neirdal require high humidity. I can process oxygen from this atmosphere, but will need to supplement with my hydration pack every 2 hours." They set off at a moderate pace. Maya noticed immediately that both aliens were maintaining precise distances from her, close enough for communication, but always just beyond arm's reach. The behavior seemed instinctive rather than calculated. By nightfall, they had covered only 8 kilometers. The rocky path had proven more treacherous than anticipated, with loose scree and hidden crevasses slowing their progress. "We should make camp," Maya suggested, eyeing the rapidly darkening sky. "Temperatures will drop significantly soon." They found a sheltered overhang and established a perimeter. The academy had provided each team with a minimal survival kit: a thermal blanket, fire starter, water purifier, and emergency rations. Maya efficiently gathered combustible material and started a fire using primitive friction methods rather than the provided starter, a skill she had learned during Earth wilderness training. Both aliens watched her with unconcealed fascination. "You've done this before," Lisseth observed, gill slits pulsing in what Maya had learned to recognize as interest. "Yes," Maya replied, feeding small twigs into the growing flame. "Earth has many wilderness areas. I used to go backpacking in the mountains. For military training? Karks asked. Maya laughed. No, for recreation. Many humans enjoy challenging themselves in natural environments. Both aliens stared at her in silent disbelief. Your species deliberately seeks out hardship for enjoyment? Lisseth finally asked. Sometimes, Maya shrugged. It helps us feel connected to our evolutionary past, I suppose. As the night deepened and temperatures plummeted, they huddled near the fire. Despite their claimed adaptations, Maya noticed both Karks and Lisseth struggling with the cold. Without comment, she rearranged their position to share body heat more efficiently and redistributed the thermal blankets to maximize coverage. You don't seem affected by the temperature, Karks observed, huddled beside her. Humans evolved to handle temperature extremes, Maya explained. We're not comfortable, but we can endure. Something in her phrasing caused both aliens to exchange a look Maya couldn't interpret. What is it? She asked. Did I say something wrong? Not wrong, Lisseth said carefully. But there are stories about humans, about what they can endure. We thought they were exaggerated. Before Maya could inquire further, a blood-curdling howl echoed across the mountainside. All three cadets tensed. That wasn't in the briefing, Kark said, scales bristling. No, Maya agreed, already rising to her feet. It wasn't. Another howl, closer this time, was followed by the sound of loose rocks tumbling down the slope above their overhang. We need to move, Maya said, quickly gathering their essential gear. Now. As they scrambled from their shelter, Maya caught glimpses of gleaming eyes reflecting their firelight. Multiple sets, moving with coordinated precision down the rocky slope toward them. What are those? Lisseth hissed, gill slits flaring in alarm. Maya didn't answer immediately, her mind racing through the Academy briefing materials. Training World Epsilon was supposed to feature environmental challenges only, not predators. Unless this was an intentional deviation from the published parameters, a test within a test. The creatures emerging from the darkness resembled nothing from Earth. Six-limbed with elongated bodies covered in what appeared to be overlapping plates, they moved with unsettling fluidity across the rocky terrain. Maya counted 5, then 7, then 12 as more appeared. Get behind me, she said calmly, reaching for her utility knife. The only weapon they'd been permitted to carry. Both aliens complied without question, the instinctive hierarchy that had been subtly present in their interactions suddenly crystallizing in this moment of crisis. Maya held her ground as the creatures advanced, their movements changing from a stalking approach to an aggressive rush. What happened next would later become the subject of intense scientific inquiry at the Academy. Maya Chen, the unassuming human cadet, moved with a precision and ferocity that defied the known capabilities of her species. She anticipated the creature's attacks, countered with devastating efficiency, and protected her team with a combination of tactical awareness and raw determination that left her alien companions in stunned silence. When Academy rescue teams arrived hours later, the training exercise having been officially suspended due to the accidental release of predator species into the training zone, they found Maya standing guard over her exhausted teammates, surrounded by the incapacitated forms of what turned out to be Trescian hunting hounds, apex predators imported from the notorious Deathworld Tres Prime. The incident report noted one particularly curious detail. The Trescian hounds, creatures feared across 3 sectors for their fearlessness and savage hunting instincts, had eventually broken off their attack and retreated from a single wounded human. As the medical team treated a laceration on Maya's arm, they observed that both of her alien teammates refused to leave her side. Not out of concern, the report speculated, but out of some deeper instinct that recognized her as their best chance for survival. Later that night, as Maya finally returned to her quarters after a thorough medical examination, she found a notification on her data tablet. Attention, Cadet CHEN. Repriority to XENOBIOOGY Lab 7. 800 HOURs tomorrow. Mandatorily meant. By order of ACADEMI command. Maya frowned at the screen. Something had changed. The careful distance her fellow cadets had maintained was transforming into something else. Something that felt unsettlingly like respect tinged with fear. And she still didn't understand why. Instincts don't lie. Maya arrived at Xenobiology Lab 7 precisely at 800 hours. The lab occupied an entire level of the Academy's science wing, a sprawling complex of transparent chambers, sophisticated equipment, and sealed containment units. Security protocols at the entrance were unexpectedly stringent. Maya's biometric data was scanned 3 times before the massive doors parted to admit her. Inside, she found not the single examiner she had expected, but a panel of 5 senior Academy officials seated behind a curved console. At the center sat Dr. Thrix Caval, the Academy's chief xenobiologist, a Valerian whose translucent skin revealed the complex network of neural pathways beneath, a biological feature that had helped their species become the Confederation's leading neuroscientists. Cadet Chen, Dr. Caval acknowledged, gesturing to a chair positioned before the panel. "Please, be seated." Maya complied, her military training automatically kicking in, back straight, hands resting on thighs, expression neutral. "Do you know why you've been summoned?" asked the official to Caval's right, a severe-looking Thulian whose species was known for their eidetic memory and analytical abilities. "I assume it's related to the incident during survival training." "Administrator," Maya replied. "Partially," Dr. Caval said, multifaceted eyes blinking in sequence, "but also related to a pattern of behavioral anomalies we've been observing since your arrival at the Academy." Maya's brow furrowed slightly. "Behavioral anomalies, Doctor? I'm not aware of any infractions." "Not your behavior, Cadet," interrupted a gravelly voice from the left, a draconian official whose scaled face was impossible to read. "The behavior of your fellow cadets around you." Before Maya could respond, Dr. Caval activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a compilation of surveillance footage, Maya entering the dining hall while several apex predator species subtly shifted away. Maya walking down a corridor as others flattened themselves against walls to avoid proximity. Maya in combat training, her opponents hesitating fractionally before engaging. "We've been monitoring these interactions since your 2nd week," Dr. Caval explained. "At first, we attributed it to normal xenophotic responses. Many species require adjustment periods when encountering new life forms. But then we noticed something peculiar. The hologram shifted to display brain scans labeled with various species names. These are neurological readings from several apex predator species in your proximity. Note the consistent activation patterns in their threat assessment centers, specifically in regions associated with instinctive rather than learned responses." Maya studied the scans, her analytical mind quickly grasping the implications. "They're afraid of me." "Not consciously," Dr. Caval clarified. "Their higher cognitive functions register you as a non-threat based on your physical characteristics, but at a deeper, instinctive level. They perceive you as an apex predator," the Thulian official finished. "Possibly as the apex predator." The statement hung in the air for a moment. "That's absurd," Maya finally said. "I have no natural weapons, no exceptional strength compared to most species here, no venom, no armor." "And yet," interrupted the draconian, "when those Trescian hounds, creatures bred for hunting apex predators, encountered you, they ultimately retreated. Our behavioral specialists have never documented such a response pattern." Maya fell silent, processing this information. "We would like to conduct a series of tests, Cadet," Dr. Caval said. "Nothing invasive, merely observational studies in controlled environments. Your participation would significantly advance our understanding of interspecies dynamics." It wasn't really a request, Maya realized. Whatever was happening had clearly rattled the Academy's leadership enough to make this a priority. "I'll cooperate fully, Doctor." Excellent. Dr. Keval's skin rippled with patterns that Maya recognized as satisfaction. We'll begin immediately. The tests were extensive, occupying Maya's entire day. Some were straightforward physical assessments, endurance trials, reaction time measurements, stress responses. Others were more peculiar, placing her in proximity to various life forms while monitoring their reactions. The most unsettling experiment involved a chamber containing specimens of the galaxy's most feared predatory species, safely contained behind force fields, but visible and able to sense her presence. Maya stood in the center as researchers observed and recorded. Almost uniformly, the creatures displayed defensive postures or submissive behaviors. By late afternoon, Maya had begun to feel less like a cadet and more like a specimen herself. She was taking a brief hydration break when a new figure entered the observation room. A human, the first she'd seen since the testing began. Commander Williams, Maya acknowledged, standing to attention. Commander Sarah Williams was the highest-ranking human at the Academy and nominally responsible for the welfare of all human cadets, all 12 of them, scattered across various specializations. "At ease, Cadet," Williams said, her experienced eyes taking in Maya's condition. "How are you holding up?" "Fine, ma'am," Maya replied automatically. Williams raised an eyebrow. "Chen, this isn't a performance evaluation. I'm asking how you're actually doing with all this." She gestured broadly at the laboratory. Maya hesitated, then let her shoulders relax slightly. "Confused, Mom. And a little concerned. The implications of these tests are significant," Williams finished for her. "Yes, I know. I've been briefed." She lowered her voice. "Listen, what I'm about to tell you isn't classified, exactly, but it's not widely advertised either. Do you know Earth's classification in the Confederation planetary system?" "Class 4, I believe," Maya said. "High biodiversity, moderate resource availability, suitable for colonization with minimal adaptation requirements." Williams' expression was grim. "That's the official classification in the public database. The actual classification in the military and scientific databases is Deathworld Category 12. "That's not possible," Maya said, genuinely shocked. "That would put Earth in the same category as the most extreme environments in the Confederation. Higher, actually," Williams corrected. "Earth is the only Category 12 currently inhabited by a sentient species. The others are either uninhabited or host only extremophile organisms." Maya's mind raced to process this information. But why the discrepancy? And why wasn't I informed during orientation? "Politics," Williams said with a slight shrug. "When humanity first made contact, the Confederation's assessment teams were disturbed by Earth's conditions. Our atmospheric composition alone would be toxic to 40% of Confederation species. Our gravity, radiation levels, pathogen diversity, predator-prey dynamics, all off the charts by their standards." She paused, leaning against a workstation. "But the Confederation needed our system's strategic position in the Perseus Arm, and humans proved useful in certain specialized roles. So a compromise was reached. Earth's true classification was restricted to need-to-know personnel, and a moderate adaptation protocol was established for non-human visitors." "And the other human cadets?" Maya asked. "All carefully selected for certain traits," Williams admitted, "including you." Before Maya could press for more details, Dr. Keval returned, accompanied by the Thulian administrator. "Ah, Commander Williams, good," the doctor said. "We've completed our preliminary analysis. Perhaps you'd care to join us for the discussion." The group relocated to a conference room where holographic data filled the air around them. Dr. Keval manipulated the displays with practiced gestures. "What we're seeing is unprecedented," the xenobiologist began without preamble. "The neurological responses in apex predator species exposed to Cadet Chen are consistent with what we would term instinctive threat recognition, but the intensity is unusual." "In simple terms, Doctor," Williams prompted. "In simple terms, Commander, These species, many of which evolved as the dominant predators on their respective worlds, recognize something about humans, something beyond conscious analysis, that registers as a superior predatory threat. Maya frowned. But that makes no sense. Physically, we're outmatched by almost every predatory species in the Confederation. That's precisely what makes this so fascinating. Dr. Caval continued, excitement evident in her undulating skin patterns. It's not your physical capabilities that trigger the response. It's something more fundamental. The holographic display shifted to show comparative evolutionary timelines. Most apex predator species in the Confederation evolved through one of two primary pathways. The Thulian administrator explained. Either they developed overwhelming force advantages, superior strength, natural weapons, venom, or they evolved specialized hunting techniques, stealth, pack coordination, sensory superiority. In both cases, Dr. Caval continued, these species optimized for quick, efficient kills. Energy conservation is a universal evolutionary principle, after all. The display shifted again, now showing human evolutionary markers. Humans followed a different path, the doctor said. You evolved as persistence hunters. We know our own history, Dr. Williams interjected, a slight edge to her voice. Yes, but you may not appreciate its uniqueness, Caval countered. Most predator species are sprinters. They exhaust their energy reserves quickly in pursuit of prey. Humans are marathon runners. Your thermoregulation, respiratory efficiency, bipedal locomotion, all optimize not for the quick kill, but for the relentless pursuit. The implications began to dawn on Maya. You're saying other predators instinctively recognize this difference. Precisely, Caval confirmed. In nature, predators rarely target other predators. Too risky, too costly in energy terms. But when they do encounter competitors, they expect certain behaviors. A fight, perhaps, or a territorial display, or a tactical retreat. What they don't expect, what nothing in their evolutionary history has prepared them for, is a predator that simply doesn't stop coming. The fear response we're observing, the Thulian added, appears to be triggered by the subconscious recognition of this trait. To an evolutionary psychology that expects predators to behave in certain ways, a predator that pursues relentlessly until its target collapses from exhaustion represents something unsettling. Maya thought back to the survival training incident, how she had remained standing, protecting her team, despite her injuries, how the Trescian hounds had eventually broken off their attack. There's more, Dr. Caval said, accessing another data set. Your physiological responses to the stress tests we conducted today were illuminating. Humans appear to function differently under pressure than most species. Where others experience performance degradation, you showed performance enhancement. Adrenaline, Williams explained. It's a normal human response. Normal for you, perhaps, Caval countered. But from an evolutionary perspective, it's extraordinary. Most species have stress responses that prioritize escape, redirecting energy to flight mechanisms. Your biochemistry instead enhances combat effectiveness, increased strength, heightened sensory processing, accelerated reaction times, and reduced pain sensitivity. The Thulian nodded. In essence, humans evolved to become more dangerous, not less, when threatened. This combination, persistence predation, and stress-enhanced combat capability, creates a predatory profile that triggers deep instinctive responses in other apex species. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. What does this mean for my position at the Academy? Maya finally asked. The officials exchanged glances. It was Commander Williams who answered. That's being discussed at the highest levels. In the meantime, you'll continue your studies, but with some adjustments. Those adjustments became clear over the following days. Maya's class schedule was modified, separating her from direct contact with many apex predator species. Her combat training sessions were now conducted under enhanced supervision. Most notably, she was assigned a new set of quarters, private accommodations usually reserved for senior cadets. The isolation wasn't complete, however. Maya still attended tactical classes, theoretical courses, and shared dining facilities with the general academy population. If anything, the revelation of her species' capabilities had made her something of a reluctant celebrity. Whispers followed her through corridors. Cadets from non-predatory species viewed her with newfound fascination, while those from apex backgrounds maintained their distance, but now watched her with calculating eyes rather than instinctive wariness. It was during an advanced tactical theory class that Maya first noticed him, a Cyrillian cadet who didn't move away when she sat nearby. Instead, he studied her with open interest, his scales maintaining a neutral blue rather than shifting to defensive patterns. "You're the human everyone's talking about," he said after class, falling into step beside her as she headed toward the simulation labs. "I'm Traz." Maya glanced sideways at him, surprised by the direct approach. "Maya Chen. And yes, apparently I'm that human. Is it true what they're saying? That you drove off a pack of Treshan hounds?" "I wouldn't say I drove them off," Maya replied carefully. "My team and I defended ourselves until rescue arrived." Traz's scales rippled with what Maya recognized as amusement. "That's not how the story is being told in the dormitories. According to some, you faced down 12 hounds single-handedly, and they fled in terror." Maya snorted. "Exaggeration is apparently universal across species." "Perhaps," Traz conceded. "But there must be some truth to it. The Academy doesn't reassign quarters and restructure class schedules based on rumors." They had reached the simulation lab entrance. Maya paused, turning to face the Cyrillian directly. "Why are you talking to me, Traz? Most of your kind seem to prefer maintaining their distance." The Cyrillian scales shifted to a thoughtful purple. "Curiosity, mostly. My clutch mother is a xenobiologist. She taught me to question instinctive responses, to seek understanding rather than surrendering to biochemical impulses." His inner eyelids flickered. "Besides, if humans truly are the apex predators some claim, wouldn't it be wiser to be your ally than your potential prey?" The blunt pragmatism of this statement startled a laugh from Maya. "That's refreshingly honest. We Cyrillians value directness," Traz replied, scales flushing briefly orange. "Would you object to continuing this conversation later, perhaps during the evening nutrition period?" Maya considered the offer. After weeks of isolation and scientific scrutiny, the prospect of normal social interaction was appealing. "I'd like that," she said. Dinner with Traz proved surprisingly comfortable. The Cyrillian possessed a dry wit and a genuine interest in human culture that made conversation flow easily. They were discussing the relative merits of different tactical doctrines when Maya's datapad pinged with a priority message. "Excuse me," she said, checking the notification. "Attention LOKDTs. Mandatory emergency RSPONSE drill. Commence 600 HOURs tomorrow. View all combat equipment required. All regular CHEDULED activities suspended." "Another drill," Traz observed, reading the message upside down. "That's the third this month." "Is that unusual?" Maya asked. The Cyrillian scales rippled thoughtfully. "Very. In previous cycles, emergency drills occurred once per quarter at most." Maya frowned. Something about the increased frequency nagged at her tactical instincts. "Have there been any other changes to standard academy procedures recently? Besides my situation, I mean." "Now that you mention it," Traz said, head tilting, "security protocols have been tightened across all sectors. Additional scanner checkpoints at key junctions, increased patrol drones, restricted access to certain research facilities." "What kinds of research facilities?" "Primarily those housing biological samples and weapons development projects." Maya's frown deepened. "Increased security, frequent combat readiness drills, restricted access to sensitive areas." The pattern was familiar from her Earth military training. The Academy was preparing for something. Have there been any unusual visitors? She asked. Diplomatic delegations, inspection teams, specialist consultants. Traz's scales flashed with surprise. Yes, actually. A Corvosh contingent arrived 2 weeks ago, supposedly for routine treaty verification. They'd been granted unusual access to Academy facilities. The Corvosh, a highly militarized culture on the far edge of Confederation space. Earth's diplomatic briefings had flagged them as potential destabilizing elements in the galactic political structure. Are they still here? Yes, their shuttle is docked at the North Administrative Tower. Maya processed this information, instincts prickling. Something wasn't right. Tomorrow's drill, she said slowly. Will the visiting delegation participate? Unlikely, Traz replied. Such exercises are typically restricted to Academy personnel only, which meant the Academy would be in a state of controlled chaos while the visitors remained in their secure quarters, the perfect opportunity for covert activity. Maya was considering whether to share her suspicions with Academy security when the dining hall's atmosphere suddenly changed. A ripple of tension spread through the room as a group of 6 figures entered. Aliens with distinctive violet skin and elaborate ceremonial armor. Corvosh, Traz whispered, scales darkening to a wary gray. The delegation moved with military precision to a reserved table, their bearing unmistakably martial. Maya studied them carefully, noting the subtle bulges in their ceremonial attire that likely concealed weapons, despite the Academy's strict disarmament protocols for visitors. As if sensing her scrutiny, one of the Corvosh, clearly the leader from his elaborate insignia, turned his head and locked eyes with Maya across the room. Something cold and calculating in that gaze sent a chill through her. Then, to her surprise, the Corvosh leader's expression shifted to one of recognition followed by, was that concern? The alien abruptly broke eye contact, leaning in to speak urgently to his companions. All 6 Corvosh then rose in unison and departed the dining hall with conspicuous haste. That was strange, Maya murmured. Traz's scales had paled to an alarmed white. In all my time at the Academy, I've never seen Corvosh retreat from anything. They didn't just retreat, Maya said, the realization crystallizing. They recognized me, or rather, they recognized what I am. A human. A human who triggered the same instinctive response in them as in other apex predators. Maya stood, suddenly certain. Traz, I need to speak with Commander Williams immediately. Something's very wrong. But as they left the dining hall, Maya's datapad pinged again. The new message froze her in her tracks. Attention, al human personal. Immediate bio azard. UQUARAN TIINE protocol. Worry priority to medical bay 3 without delay. This is not a drill. They're isolating the humans, Maya whispered, the tactical implications instantly clear. Just before a major security drill, and right after the Corvosh recognize what we are. Traz's scales had darkened to a deep crimson, the cerulean equivalent of alarm. What are you saying? Maya's expression hardened. I'm saying the Academy is about to come under attack, and they're neutralizing the most dangerous defenders first. At that moment, the overhead lighting shifted to amber, and a calm automated voice echoed through the corridors. Attention all personnel. Biohazard containment protocols initiated in sectors 7 through 12. Please proceed calmly to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Maya's eyes met Traz. It's already starting.